right, our next Mapping Monday, turn your page sideways just like this, and let's go ahead and get started. We draw our eye, our nose, and our chin. There we go, our eye, our nose, and our chin. And we say I because it was always watching, and that, of course, is going to be none other than England. England is going to be a part of the continent of Europe. Inside Europe, there are two countries that are nosy about what's going on. They are Spain and France. And then the chin, holding up our economic system, it is none other than Africa. Now, let's remember that in 1492, Columbus sails the ocean blue. He is trying to find a westward sea route to get him to none other than Asia. And why is he going to Asia? He is looking for those gold, silks, and spices. So which purse is he going to take? He is, of course, going to take his economic purse. When we talk about these lands right here, we are going to refer to these as the Old World right there. Now, does Columbus make it all the way to Asia? He does not. Instead, he lands in the New World, so we're going to go ahead and draw that right in the middle. We are not drawing it to size. We're going to draw it really big so that we can label inside of it. I'm going to start up here at the top corner. We go across, dip down, and hook around, just like that. Across, dip down, and hook around. We're going to come around the side and hook back up. There is my Florida. I'm coming up over, bump, bump for Texas. We're going to go over and up. Right there. This land right here, including going down into Central America and then South America, is none other than our New World. Before we can start labeling the significant historical events, we have to first label our physical features. So when we talked about Columbus crossing the ocean, that westward barrier right there that they had to get over was none other than the Atlantic Ocean. Notice I am using my abbreviations now. The first time we write them, we always write them all the way out, but this time we get to abbreviate. And so as we go westward, we land on the East Coast, blocking the westward expansion of our early colonists. Right there is none other than the Appalachian Mountains. But the Midwest is going to be connected to the East Coast with this water area up here. Altogether, these are the Great Lakes. To remember the Great Lakes, we say homes, Lake Huron, Lake Ontario, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, and Lake Superior. Moving further west, America's highway, travel, trade, transportation is going to happen on the Mississippi River, and it flows into our Gulf of Mexico. Flowing into the Mississippi River, an important river, especially in our next unit that we're going to talk about, is none other than the Ohio River. That creates that good fertile soil right there that we are going to want, and that's why France has gone up there to explore. All right, moving westward, our biggest mountain range that we're going to have to cross is none other than the Rocky Mountains. Manifest destiny. Sea to shining sea is going to be the Atlantic Ocean all the way to the Pacific Ocean right there. So those are our physical features that we label right now. Let's go ahead and get started on our history. And starting with our history, we are going to start with our exploration groups. Our first exploration group that comes to the Americas are none other than the Spanish. And they come right down here. They go to the south. They go to the west, so all of this area right here is Spanish. You definitely see that Spanish influence even today with culture and foods and languages, names of places, things like that are Spanish influence right there. It goes down into Central America and even further into South America. When we look at the Spanish, we have to go, well, why did they come? What purse are they taking? They, of course, are going to start with economic. They want to find gold. They then want to claim land for the king, so that is political. Remember, land equals power. And then do not forget, they are also religious. What religious are they? They are Catholics. They are looking to convert the natives. Do not forget, when we talk about the Spanish, we have to remember that in the beginning, they do not treat the natives very well. We do refer to them as our savage Spanish slaveholders. They were not very nice. Later, they become nice, but in the beginning, it was not very nice in the way they treated the natives. Our next exploration group, our next nosy group, is none other than the French. And they're going to go up that Mississippi River area. They're actually going to build a really good port city right there. Does anybody remember what it is? Right on the mouth of the Mississippi. It is none other than Nolens, or New Orleans, right there, Louisiana. That's why you see that French influence in New Orleans. All right, the French. Why are they coming? Well, we know they are the friendly French fur traders. So that is, of course, economic. They are going to trade furs with the natives that they can take back to Europe to sell. They are also political because land equals power. And so they planted their flag. They said it was theirs. Did they really have anybody living there? Not so much, but they like to say it was theirs anyways. After the French, our third exploration group is going to be none other than the English. And we write it on the outside because on the inside, we're going to write the colonies. When I think of the English, I have to remember my first permanent English colony, which is none other than Jamestown, Virginia. And so they are, of course, economic. They go in search of gold. They don't find it. They almost die. But then they plant tobacco. After that, we say religious because we have to remember the Puritans going to Plymouth. And then finally, we have political, claiming land, and then social. I just want a better life. Now, with these explorers, when we look at these explorers, I'm going to see if I can make this just a little bit more clear. Is that a little bit better for you? I hope it is. Let me fix it. There we go. When we look at our explorers and we think about trading, the goods that they take from the old world to the new world and then new world to the old world, this trade network is, of course, referred to as the Columbian Exchange. But in the Columbian Exchange, who's going to get hurt the most? The natives. What is accidentally exchanged when they bring the livestock over? Diseases. And the natives are not immune to it. And so many of them are going to get sick. Some of them will die. Smallpox was a big one that came over. What is it that our explorers are always looking for? Well, they never forget. They are always trying to get to Asia. They try to go south. South America's too far to go around. So they decide we're going to go north. We're going to go into the Arctic really, really, really far, far, far north, trying to make their way through it because they want to get to Asia. They never forget about Asia. They are looking for a Northwest Passage. And we know, though, that in their attempts to find a Northwest Passage, there is no Northwest Passage. They cannot get through the ice. All right, eventually, we are going to get our first colonizers to the America, and so we are going to label that next. I'm going to bring it in just a little bit so that you can see it a little bit closer. Let me see if I can do this right for you. There we go. A little bit closer so that you can see as I write on it. All right, so I'm looking at this East Coast area right here. I am talking about my English, of course, my English. And I have to say, okay, the first permanent English colony, that's going to be Jamestown, Virginia. That is about, I'm trying to figure out what color I want to use. I think I'm going to use this blue one. The English are, Jamestown, Virginia is right about here. I'm not exact. It's okay. Jamestown, Virginia right there. So I put my J right there to stand for Jamestown, Virginia. And I have to remember they come for economic reasons. It's in the southern colonies, but really the southern colonies kind of start about right there. Jamestown, Virginia. After Jamestown, Virginia, we are going to get Plymouth, Massachusetts. Remember, Jamestown is going to be economic. There's my little economic symbol right next to it. Plymouth, Massachusetts is religious. There is my shining cross right there, trying to remember that they are religious with the Puritans in Plymouth, Massachusetts, the PPs of New England, the Plymouth Puritans right there. These two colonies are going to do good. Jamestown has tobacco. The Plymouth Puritans are going to get help from natives in order to survive. And so they're going to grow, they're going to prosper, so more people are going to come over from New England, and eventually we're going to become the 13 English colonies. And so those English colonies can really be divided into 3 colonial regions because they have commonalities in them. And so we make sure that our Plymouth Puritans are in the top, and our Jamestown, Virginia is in the bottom, and then we have a middle section right there. Starting at the top, I know that this is New England. Anytime I see New England or write New England, I have to remind myself, religion. Do not forget the Puritans, the PPs in New England, the Plymouth Puritans right there. How do I know what my New England colonies are? I say my New Hampshire runs in circles. Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Connecticut is right there. That lets me know that that is my New England colonies. I remind myself it is cold, it is rocky, there is no farming. They are going to have ships, they're going to build ships, they're going to go fishing, they're going to trade, they're going to hunt, they're going to have furs, but there is no farming. Do not get that wrong. All right, going down below them, we have our middle colonies. There are 2 nicknames for our middle colonies that remind us of our purse. Those 2 nicknames, one of them is, of course, the bread basket colonies. If you were here, you saw that basket full of bread. The bread basket colonies tell us they are economic because they export so much grain. And then finally, they are also the melting pot. They are diverse. They have lots of different people. So we had that pot full of Barbies. How do we remember the middle colonies? We tell ourselves, New York police need jelly donuts. That is New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. Now, within New York police need jelly donuts, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware, one of them is a religious colony. That is going to be none other than Pennsylvania. So I'm going to add a tiny little cross. A tiny little cross right there. And they are the Quakers. They are shaking things up. So that is my tiny little cross. See, it's right there. Let's see if it can zoom a little bit better. My tiny little cross right there for Pennsylvania. All right, so we have our middle colonies, diverse people want to live there. And then we move to our southern colonies right down there. Let me pull this way right here. Our southern colonies are agrarian society. They are cash crops. So there's my economic symbol. My southern colonies, I tell myself, my very nice cousin sends Christmas gifts. Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. And when I look at my southern colonies, I have to remind myself one of them is a religious colony, Maryland, for the Catholics. So I'm going to add a tiny little cross right there. Don't forget that Maryland is there for the Catholics who were escaping persecution and wanted to start their own colony right there. Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Georgia, political debtors. Taking debtors there to serve as a buffer between the colonies, so South Carolina and above, and Spanish Florida that is right below them. Right below them is Spanish Florida. So right there, I have my 13 English colonies, religious for New England. Do not forget my middle colonies are the breadbasket and the melting pot. My southern colonies, they can grow a lot of stuff. It is agrarian. It has good fertile soil. It has a warm climate. So they are my agrarian area where you are going to find the cash crops and plantations. Now, thinking about our colonies and recognizing that they are going to need to be connected to their mother country. Oh, right there, I forgot to put a crown on my mother country. Do not forget a crown. They're going to need to be connected to their mother country of England. And so in order to connect to their mother country of England, they are going to have some port cities. They want those ships to be able to go across the Atlantic. In New England, our important port city is going to be none other than Boston, Massachusetts. We're going to write the letter B and put a tiny little triangle, and I bet you know why, but we'll talk about it in just a minute. So Boston's going to serve as an important port city for New England. In the middle, an important port city, it continues to be a famous port city today, is none other than New York City. Right there. There is my triangle, New York City, one of the most important port cities that we had in the colonies, and we continue to have today. The trade that's going out, taking stuff to their mother country. And then in the South, they want their own port city too. That is Charleston, South Carolina. There we go. There's my C and a triangle. So I have these port cities. I have this long coastline. Notice all of my colonies are on the coast. Why? Because they are still connected to our mother country. How are they connected to our mother country? Well, they trade, right? So the colonies produce raw materials. Those raw materials are going to go to England and Europe, natural resources. England and Europe are going to turn it into stuff. They will send that stuff back. They will also send some of that stuff down into Africa. When we say that they turn it into stuff, we are talking about turning it in. Let me try to not be so crooked. Sorry. We are saying they turn it into manufactured goods. Notice I write right over it is the process of learning. They turn it into manufactured goods. Manufactured goods go down into Africa. They're also coming back to the Americas. The biggest things they're going to manufacture and send are going to be guns and rum. And then out of Africa, we know that, unfortunately, that the biggest coming out of there, our biggest export was, of course, enslaved people coming out of there. And so with that, we see this triangular trade. It doesn't just go one way, though. America is also going to send stuff to Africa. Africa is also sending items to Europe. And so we see that three-way trade going right there. This is our triangular trade. Right here, triangular trade. That's why we put a triangle at Boston, New York City, and Charleston. In our triangular trade, who is making the most money? It is, of course, the mother country right there. It is England. How do we know they're making the most money? Well, in order to create the colonies, we have that economic theory of mercantilism, mother, country, money, mercantilism right there in our colonies. Even though we have our colonies, they are producing all the raw materials. They send it to England, and England turns it into stuff. They send it back, but they are making all the money due to mercantilism right there.